Welcome to the New Testament Church of God, 89 Stride Road, Gloucester, GL15AH. We're going to take you on a journey of our church history. We hope you enjoy.
The church had its humble beginning in home prayer meetings in the 1950s. The Windrush generation, as they are now called, was subject to racism in many white British-led churches they attended. This led many coming from the West Indies to initially worship in their homes. This could be a room, as many did not have access to an entire house. Initially, prayer meetings were held at 18 Howard Street, occasionally using the Friends Meeting House, the Quakers, for special meetings. The group comprised of Gladstone and Lucille Coleman, Irvin and Doris Anderson, and Sylvester and Vera Wright. They were later joined by Pastor Gladstone Fitzgerald Barnes, his wife, and their three daughters, Mary, Penny, and Wendy. By 1958, they moved into a little hall on Eastgate Street, and the church was organised in 1959. Midweek services held at the Andersons' home on Central Road, and by 1961, due to membership increase, the group moved to the Good Temple Hall. They worshipped at the hall every Sunday morning and evening. It was attended by many denominations, including Seventh-day Church of God of Prophecy, Bethel United Apostolic Church, but led by the minister, Pastor Barnes, and members of the New Testament Church of God. Once more Caribbean migrants from these denominations moved to the city, they eventually formed their own church denominations, separating to different buildings within the area. The church was growing, evangelizing in and outside of the city. Driven by Pastor Barnes in the church minibus, a few church sisters decided to travel to South Wales to evangelise. Searching for people who looked like them and likely to be in a similar position without a place of fellowship, they stopped a few people and asked if they knew of any black-led churches. They stopped a man with a limp who told them his sister and her husband are Christians but haven't a church. He gave them directions to their house, and on arrival, Sister Freckleton, with a baby girl in her arms, greeted them. They told her the mission they came on, and they had fellowship in the house. They kept in contact mainly by writing letters. The Gloucester Brethren continued to visit the couple in Newport regularly, who held house meetings with other Christians in the area. There were many Christians worshipping in their homes, so after Sunday dinner, they used the dining hall to worship. Later, Pastor Barnes asked one of the men from the Newport group to seek a hall where they could worship. The Gloucester Brethren continued to support the Brethren in establishing the church. It wasn't long before a church was also founded in Cardiff by the help of Reverend Gray from the New Testament Church of God in Sheffield, who held a crusade in Cardiff. While the Brethren were worshipping in Gloucester one Sunday, two men visited the service. Pastor Barnes told them to stand up and tell everyone about themselves. They said they came from Bristol, as there was no black-led churches in Bristol. Pastor Barnes gave the men his telephone number, and they made arrangements to contact each other. Under the instructions of Pastor Barnes, the two men from Bristol gathered the names of interested Christians in their local area, and they held prayer meetings in their homes. Some of the Brethren from Gloucester Church supported the house meetings and continued to support their services when they moved to a hall. One of the two men, who were from Bristol, was a man known as Brother Smith. He told Pastor Barnes that he has a brother living in Bath. Pastor Barnes asked Sister Palmer and Brother Thomas to go with him to visit Bath. On arrival, they met Sister Smith with a young baby. Her husband, Brother Smith's brother, was at work. The group from Gloucester prayed with her and exchanged details to keep in touch. Brother and Sister Smith began the process of holding prayer meetings in their homes, and from there the church in Bath was established. The news in these times that people from Gloucester were coming to help start the church was big news in the area. Under the guidance of Pastor Barnes and the support of the members, churches in Trowbridge and Melksham were also formed. Pastor Barnes and his evangelists travelled to Chippenham, where Pastor and Sister Wright, along with Sister Perkins, were pivotal in implementing the church there. In 1963, the General Overseer, Oliver Lysite, transferred Pastor Barnes and his family to Handsworth, Birmingham, to become the principal of Ebenezer Bible School. His successor was the newly married Pastor R.O. Brown and his wife.
In 1964, the group under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Ron Brown purchased Cromwell Street property. Cromwell Street property became our new place of worship. Back then in 1964, the property was purchased for £4,450. It might not seem a lot in now's economy, but back then £4,450 was a lot of money. The worship centre reached many souls and also had a living quarter connected to it, where many people would stay and fellowship in the centre. The church remained at Cromwell Street in Gloucester until the arrival of their new pastor, Pastor Kenneth G. Walder. In 1967, under the leadership of Pastor Walder, they purchased and moved to Stride Road, where we worship to today's date. The cost of Stride Road was £3,250 and also an additional £4,000 for repairs, as a lot of work needed doing. We continue to evangelise throughout the country: Bristol, Trowbridge, Bath, Chippenham, Cardiff and Newport, as souls was still paramount to the ministry. In 1983 to 1985, Pastor John Hall served as the accountant at our HQ for a number of years, became the new pastor at Stride Road, right here. He led the congregation for 2 years and was succeeded by Pastor Cyrus Scott. Pastor Scott started pastoring the Gloucester Church in 1985 and remained the pastor till 2011. A man that reached many souls and went out into the community and brought the church together. He spent more years as a pastor than any of his predecessors, knowing that the Gloucester community knew Pastor Scott very well. Under his leadership, the rear extension and halls were undertaken and many other building work to bring the church up to the 21st century. During the period of 2000 and 2011, we had many refurbishings done at the rear of the church, including the upstairs, downstairs hall. We had new bathroom facilities, disabled toilets downstairs, plus a new kitchen, extra rooms, and even a new roof was done in 2002. In 2011, Bishop C.L. Scott was succeeded by Bishop Marcel Fullwood. He was very much a community man and did a lot of things in the community, reaching souls. His catchphrase was "one bring one win one, and one catch one." However, in April 2013, he felt led to take up his pastorate role in Canada and was succeeded by our present pastor, Bishop E. George Beeson, aka The Flame. Bishop E. George Beeson currently pastors the New Testament Church of God in Stride Road. He has a focus for souls, outreach, growth, and more growth. We've had many baptisms, we've had many events happen in the church while he's been here under his leadership, and we continue to grow from strength to strength.
For if I never had a problem, I'd never know that God could solve them. I'd never know what faith in the Word of God could do. But now I can tell the world that through it all, through it all, oh yeah. Don't you know I've learned to trust in Jesus? I've learned to trust in God. Let me tell you that through it all, through it all, oh yes. Oh, I've learned to depend upon His word. Every child of God here tonight, you ought to thank God